Hey, welcome to PopCast, a crowd-sponsored yo-yo show. Huge shout out to John Anderson and Taka from Spin Gear and the rest of my sponsors over on patreon.com/DocPop. It is Fixed Axle February. It's actually like the last week of Fixed Axle February. But because it's Fixed Axle February, this month I did a virtual yo-yo club with my patrons, and we talked about modern responsive fixed axle tricks. I showed some of my favorites. I showed a trick called floops to them. The virtual yo-yo club is something we do each month, but this month was a special edition, like I said, because of Fixed Axle February. And we started talking about fixed axle yo-yos, and I told the group about my favorite fixed axle yo-yo. And you know what? I thought I should tell you about it as well, too. First off, here's my collection. To be honest, this is my collection of fixed axle wooden yo-yos. I have a lot more fixed axle yo-yos, and I even have in here, I think, a fixed axle leather yo-yo. But for the most part, this is kind of my classic wooden yo-yo collection. I'm a huge fan of everything in here. There's a lot of cool gems. Up on the top, I've got this really cool fixed axle fabricated yo-yo. This is like laser etched out of wood. And then on the top row, we've got all our timber yo-yos, a lot of Ed Hipponic yo-yos. Then I've got a bunch of spin-worthy yo-yos. I think one of my favorites here is this Knack Spin-Worthy, which has like finger spin cups. Spin-worthy does great stuff. We got a couple Duncan yo-yos that are carved by Duncan pros like Chris Neff and Steve Brown. Cool piece from Taka from Spin Gear. These are pretty cool. These are from a Krispy Kreme store opening in the 70s. These were giveaways from there. They look like bagels, but I actually sent these to John Higby, who made them look a lot more like donuts. Shout out to John. Kind of similar is this weird piece from ART Yo-Yo's alternate return tops. Jensen does yo-yo donuts as well, but this one's not a donut. This is one of my favorite spin-worthy yo-yos. This is the Knack that he did for Kyle Nations, or did with Kyle Nations. It's a great yo-yo. It's got this awesome finger spin area on it. Another spin-worthy yo-yo that I love, the White Blood Cell. This thing's also got that awesome finger spin area. This is a real gem. This is a Hildy yo-yo that is a prototype wooden bolt. So this was based on the bolt. We never actually manufactured these. These caps are hollow underneath, so it's a little bit more rim-weighted. And the yo-yo is one of the few wooden yo-yos that's actually take apart. I had another beautiful one of these. The string broke. It went out to the road and a truck ran it over. It's the first time Hildy said he's ever seen one of these things smashed. It broke my heart. This Duncan yo-yo has holes that make really awesome sounds. But of all these yo-yos on display, I think one of my personal favorites is the Doble Ariel. As a matter of fact, I've got two of them. So this is the Doble Ariel. Like I said, it's one of my favorite yo-yos in my collection. It's really beautiful and it looks very just nice, but it's really got a cool secret to it. Doble was made by John McAvoy Jr. up in Washington. John was making yo-yos for about 20 years. I think he retired around 2007. That's when the site went offline. So between 2000 to 2007, I was kind of like paying attention to what they were doing, and I was blown away by the yo-yos were high end. This was $50 in 2001. That was a lot of money to me back then, but I did, use my money, and I bought a couple of the Ariels and a Calypso. Now, a Titania. So the Doble yo-yos, there was a few of them that they made. The Ariel was the lightest they made, and it came in around 57 grams. The Calypso was 68 grams. Exact same shape and everything, just way heavier. And that was mostly for sleep times. The Titania is a transaxle yo-yo that I am going to do a video about sometime because it is the wildest yo-yo in my collection. And then there was a couple others that never really got released. One of them's the Swallow, which is the butterfly version of this. I passed on a chance to get one when I was 2002, 2003, I guess, and I regret it so much. I would do anything for a Swallow. But let's talk about what makes this thing so special. Well, first off, like I said, it's beautiful yo-yo. This one is mahogany, I believe. My other one is Eastern hard rock, and brass sides. And what makes these things really, really impressive is their sleep time. For a fixed axle yo-yo, these things will sleep forever. As a matter of fact, one of the world records for longest fixed axle spins was held with a Doble yo-yo. I believe it was held with a Calypso, and that record beat the previous record. The previous record was 52 seconds. The world record, as far as the last Doble fixed axle yo-yo, the world record was 63 seconds. I don't think I got that this one, but I'm not really the sort of person who gets a fixed axle yo-yo for long spins. And I think people who are maybe missing out on something here. For instance, the Calypso, it'll spin much longer than this guy, but the Calypso was just really heavy. It wasn't fun. This yo-yo is really, I think, pretty fun. And you can kind of do, you could do your boing boings. You could probably do a spirit bomb with this if your accuracy is good enough. That's close. Okay, so I talked about the secret of how these yo-yos spin for so long for a completely fixed axle yo-yo. Well, the secret is friction and the reduction of friction. The axle is about the size of a thick piano string. This yo-yo has the thinnest axle you'll ever see. And what that's going to mean is it's less friction. Your string literally is just touching the tiniest bit of metal. There's hardly any friction here. Now, on top of that, the response system is great. Everything's great. But the key innovation here, along with the adjustable gap, is that thin axle. I really don't like taking these things apart too often, but I like you guys. So I took this one apart so you could really see what's happening. So first off, we've got that super thin axle here. It's press fit. You've got this piece of plastic, machined plastic here, and this piece is going to fit in here and it's going to fit snugly. So if you take it apart often, you're going to start to kind of like undo that. It's going to come apart. Now, I think these things are really meant to last for a long time. But I don't know. I just got really paranoid because I can't get my hands on any more of these. So I don't take them apart too often. You guys are special. Here's the magic. This is the thin axle I was talking about. This is, like I said, about the size of a thin piano string or a thick piano string. And this is what makes these things really work so well, is you hardly have any friction when the string's on here. When you throw this, it's just touching, the string's just touching a tiny bit of metal and the sides of the yo-yo. And that's it. Now, John in his patent talks about the lapper disc. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think basically this kind of shape here that you see that kind of sticks out, this kind of convex shape, for some reason, it does a great job with response. So you could make a yo-yo, a fixed axle yo-yo even, that sleeps really long, but this yo-yo sleeps really long and it snaps right back up. Now, I wouldn't be using this for like my modern responsive style play. I wouldn't be doing loops with it. These things loop terribly. Even when you adjust them, they sink down. And part of that is the weight, but it's just also the way they're designed. These are designed for sleeping and they're incredible. So like I said, there's a small hole drilled in the plastic and you've got this axle, and the way this thing goes together is just press fit. So you put it together and you just kind of push them together. And this is where one of his patents came in, where John McAvoy Jr.'s patents came in. In 1991, he's got the patent for an adjustable yo-yo, and it's not spacers adjusting it. It's not like screwing, adjusting. It's really just friction, just how wide that gap is. So I've got this actually pretty tight because I kind of find that if it's too loose, you don't get as much friction going down. The yo-yo won't unwind as well going down. So this is where mine is set right now. But like I said, this is adjustable. So if I have it really wide open, let's just kind of see what happens. You're probably going to kick back a lot. I'll watch out for that. Doesn't even bind. Oh, yeah, there we go. A bind return fixed axle yo-yo. So that's really wide, like obnoxiously wide. No one would be doing it this much. Let's bring it in a little bit. And also, if you do have a bit of wobble with this yo-yo, which doesn't really happen, but it is wood, so it could happen. You could just kind of like turn the halves to get it just right. Oof. So when I think about fixed axle yo-yos, I'm not thinking about something that's going to sleep for a long time or something that I might even need to bind or return. When I'm thinking fixed axle, I'm mostly thinking something really snappy and responsive. So that being said, even though this thing does spin forever and it is very responsive, I think if you want a long sleeping yo-yo, you're just going to go for a ball bearing yo-yo probably, unless you just really like, the simplicity of this design, which is great. But I think there's some stuff that we can learn from this particular design. Now, I don't know if necessarily the adjustable gap by kind of like pulling or like a yo-yo you don't want to take apart too often is something you want to take away from it. But I do think it kind of reminds us of just a simple thing. Big axles suck for like responsive yo-yos. I have seen a few, and I've even tried making some C-bearing, blanks, right? And these are kind of cool in theory because you could take any yo-yo and turn it into a fixed axle yo-yo. But the thing is, look how much friction you're going to have. If the string's sitting on this, it's really not going to be as good as something like any of these guys, right? Like any of these fixed axle yo-yos that have that narrower gap. Now, they all have wood in the core, but you could have something, I don't know, like if you're doing a metal gap, there's metal blanks out there. You can have a metal blank that fits a C-bearing yo-yo, but comes in more. Like it doesn't need to be this big where the string sits. The string could be sitting in a smaller area. Or I don't know, we could come up with all sorts of other solutions for it. This is fun. It's a fun novelty. But, if you really want something that's long spinning and fixed axle, you got to change that gap. You can't have something quite this thick. Now, I would love to see more modern yo-yo designers trying the super thin axle because it's really cool. It's crazy how long these things sleep. And I think there's a lot that we could take away from this particular design. Now, the challenges of a thin axle, especially if you're doing this particular design, are that each time you take it apart, you might be putting more wear on the plastic that holds it taut. So that part of the design, you either have to kind of like be like, hey, try not to take this apart too often, or you figure out some other way to do it. Now, a lot of my fixed axle yo-yos don't ever come apart. So I guess having a yo-yo that I can kind of take apart occasionally isn't that big a deal. The biggest risk with a yo-yo of this type of design is this isn't exactly something you want to carry around in your pocket. And not just because it's so beautiful. This axle is not super strong. If it gets squeezed too much, there's not a lot of resistance there. That's why most yo-yos are switching to super skinny axles. Now, maybe a super small titanium axle or something could hold really well. Maybe there's potential there. But I think no matter what, a lot of these yo-yos are going to end up sitting on shelves like this for the most part. This isn't something I'm going to be taking out too often. So we're talking a lot about fixed axle February. Again, this happens every February, and the idea is to just try to encourage people to try playing fixed axle just for a month and or use fixed axle more often than usual. I think it's a lot of fun. This year, I've seen a lot more people participating than in previous years. And I think that's largely because of the contest that Nate Martzoff is doing. I wanted to give a shout out to Dylan Reddish, who in 2014 was the first person to use the hashtag fixed axle February, as far as I could tell. This was in 2014, like February 28th. He posted just a fixed axle, like a cheap yo-yo from a college. And the next year, I don't know if it was related or not, but the next year, Ed Haponic did fixed axle February as kind of like a broader thing and kind of encouraged people to use the hashtag. So that really is where it took off. And this year, Nate Martzoff is doing a yo-yo challenge, a fixed axle yo-yo challenge. I'm one of the sponsors. I'll be donating a Thing yo-yo to one of the winners. And I know Ed Haponic is also a sponsor or a judge, and the yo-yo experts involved. There's a lot of cool people involved. So I asked Nate Martzoff to tell us a little bit about the fixed axle contest.
Hey, Doc. So you've asked me to answer some questions about fixed axle February, and it has been a lot of fun organizing this contest. For this year, I wanted to do something a little bit new, a little bit different than we've done in the years past. I wanted to make sure it was kind of a little bit of something for everybody, and there's been some great participation in it. So there's really two divisions. One, you were one of the judges for, as well as Ed Haponic and Kyle Nations and myself. And this, we haven't actually seen really many submissions for this yet, so I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and anticipating that there'll be more coming in. And just people putting it off to the last minute. I believe there's one right now as I film this, but this is the 1 minute freestyle artistic performance. And really, this is kind of a main judged, sort of contest. It can be shot in different angles. It can be edited. It can put to music, all that stuff. So it's not a traditional freestyle. It's just the best tricks that you can possibly throw. Fixed tricks, that is. And then the second one, this has had a lot of participation and it's been a lot of fun for people and just kind of seeing things come in, is a weekly set of tricks, which are due on every Friday. So Fixed Axle Friday of Fixed Axle February. And there are 4 different tricks or elements. And every time you complete a trick or an element, you get your name in a raffle. We'll draw that raffle March 1st or something like that. There are also, and this is still going on until the 28th, and that's the last day to submit this, but there are some bonus tricks as well, which are a little bit harder. They're more like traditional tricks that aren't always played on a fixed axle yo-yo. So those 3 bonus tricks, if you want to complete those, you'll get an extra name in the raffle, and that is Split the Atom, Ouija Bow, and Spirit Bomb. And so those are all, Spirit Bomb's probably the hardest for sure. For the remainder of this contest, you need to be posting to the expert forum. There is a separate place for that 1-minute video as well, the freestyle. Yo-Yo Expert has been awesome working with me. Eric Koloski has been putting some hard work in, really promoting this contest and helping out with that. Some really great banners and stuff for the socials and all that. So thank you so much, Eric, if you're watching this. Dude, you're awesome. I do have a video on kind of the breakdown of all the other rules. So if, Doc, you want to go ahead and link that up there, I can send you a link to that. But yeah, so that explains kind of everything that I've done here in more detail maybe. But again, everything's on Yo-Yo Expert. So definitely check that out. There's a bunch of different threads on there, one for each week of the completed tricks. Those are kind of done now. But again, be looking for that 1-minute freestyle. I'm very excited for that. And you also have an opportunity to throw any of those bonus tricks until the end of the month. Thanks, Doc. I'll see you.
So I just wanted to say shout out to Nate Martzoff for organizing this contest this year. I'm happy to be a sponsor of it. I'd love to do it again next year. It's been really fun watching how many people are playing fixed axle and doing a lot of tricks. I think also, along with this, I've seen a lot of players doing responsive counterweight tricks, which are kind of a lot of things I've been sharing lately on my channel, but they've been doing them with wood axle yo-yos, which is killer to see. I love seeing people get into responsive counterweight. So shout out to Nate Martzoff, Yo-Yo Expert, Ed Haponic, all the rest of the judges. I think Kyle Nations is a judge for organizing and doing this event this year. And that's it for this episode of PopCast. Thanks so much for listening to my little history story about Doble yo-yos. I will say I have been hesitant to tell folks about Doble yo-yos for very selfish reasons. For the past 10 years, I have had an eBay search for Doble yo-yos, and I haven't seen one come up since then. Either people don't know how to label them, or these things are just not being sold. And I really want to get my Doble collection up. I've got the Calypso, I've got the Titania, I've got an Ariel, and I could use more. And I really want that butterfly shaped yo-yo. I think it's called the Swallow. So if anyone has one and they want to trade for something, let me know, and maybe we'll make it happen. But I was tired of keeping this secret to myself. Everyone needs to know about these awesome yo-yos. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this history lesson and enjoyed going through my collection. And I'm so sorry if you had to stare at this thing the whole time. Sorry about that. I really should have covered.